I am on the verge of screaming right now, guys. I read out this whole thing, and then the whole thing decided to mess up again. I'm not going through this. No, if I'm going to talk about it, I'm going to do it in a nice video. I'm done with it. We're talking to a nice Noivern. His name is Cryvern. I had this whole story read out, and I got to read it again. The story is called Whispers of the Winter Echo, The Ice Noivern's Tale. In the farthest northern reaches of the Pokemon world, beyond the frozen peaks of Mount Arvius and across the glacial mist of the Spirit Hollow, there lives a creature whispered about in trembling awe, the Ice Noivern, known only in legend as Cryvern. His wings shimmer like frozen glass, a translucent blue laced with veins of pale silver. The usual leathery webbing of his kind is instead replaced by fragile-looking sheets of ice that never melt. His fur, once black and violet like other Noivern, is now ashen white with pale cerulean streaks flowing down his back and tail. His large sonar disk resemble frost-encrusted crystals, constantly emitting a faint hum that echoes through the mountains, a call of isolation and of warning. Cryvern was not born an ice type. Long ago, he was like the others of his kind, thriving in warm caves and soaring over moonlit skies. But one fateful day, an experiment gone wrong, a desperate act by a cruel trainer who sought to give him an edge in combat, forced Cryvern to absorb a shard of the elemental ice core, an ancient artifact of unimaginable power. His body twisted in pain, scales cracking, warmth fleeing, and when the transformation ended, Cryvern was no longer the Pokemon he once was. Betrayed and broken, he fled to the north. For years, he made his home inside a hollowed glacier above Spirit Hollow, isolated and surrounded by the bitter chill he had come to embody. Every attempt by humans to approach him ended the same way. Blizzards howled, ice shards tore through the air, and their retreat was hastened by frostbitten skin and fear in their hearts. Cryvern grew angry, withdrawn, distrustful. His heart was not evil, but buried beneath the layers of pain and loneliness. He watched the skies alone. He sang mournful songs at night that only the auroras answered, and no one dared come close again, until one day he sensed something different. There was a figure walking in the snow, cloaked but not trembling, approaching the peak slowly. Cryvern crouched in the crags of his glacier, invisible in the whiteout. He watched from above, waiting. This person didn't hold weapons or traps, no Pokeballs in their hands, no fear, only a strange warmth behind their eyes. He let out a warning shriek. A blast of icy wind roared past the traveler. Any normal person would have turned back, but this one didn't. They shielded themselves from the gust but didn't run. Instead, they sat on the cold rock, pulling out a small pouch. Inside it, berries. Not the usual kind, but sweet, juicy citrus and yaki berries, fruits that hadn't grown in this region for centuries. Cryvern narrowed his glowing icy blue eyes. A trap? No. This was different. He descended, a swift arc of frozen wind trailing his wings as he landed before the traveler with a thunderous slam of his claws. Ice formed beneath his feet, cracks spreading. His breath frosted the air, and his eyes were fierce. The traveler held their ground. They slowly pushed the berries toward him. Cryvern snarled. He fluttered his wings, beautiful and terrible, refracting the northern lights in dozens of jagged colors. He hissed. Echo pulses began to build in his sonar disk. But the traveler said nothing. They only sat, still and patient. Cryvern hesitated. Something in them stirred. Old instincts, forgotten memories, a warm cave, a friend's touch. A trainer once kind before betrayal stole it all. He stepped forward and he stepped forward slowly and ate the berries. That night, Craven didn't sing to the auroras. Instead, he watched the small campfire the traveler made outside the glacier, curling his long tail around a snowy ridge above to listen and eventually rest. The next day, when the traveler returned with more food, Craven didn't hide. On the third day, he approached them willingly. Over the weeks that followed, Craven's world began to change. He still didn't let anyone else near. Other hikers and climbers who ventured too far were turned away with frost and fury, but not this human, not the one who sat by his glacier and spoke in soft, soothing tones, not the one who never tried to capture or control him, only to understand him. One evening, a wild snail pack attacked, trying to drive the human away. Craven didn't hesitate. He launched into the fray with a shriek that echoed through the hollow, wings flashing with icy light as he drove the pack into the snow with a blizzard-laced boom burst. When the traveler reached up to thank him, Craven lowered his head, just slightly, enough for a hand to gently touch his frozen cheek. It was the first time he had allowed it in years. In time, Craven began flying low to greet them whenever they approached. His once razor-like aggression had melted into fierce protectiveness. If the traveler was cold, he would wrap his wings around them, controlling the chill so it wouldn't harm. If danger came near, he was a storm of winter and rage. And one day, when they fell asleep by his side under the stars, Craven gently placed his head next to them and closed his eyes, no longer alone, and no longer bitter. Not tamed, but loved. And then, here's what it says about Craven today. Craven still guards the northern peaks, but now he flies further, seeking new lands with that one who thawed his heart. His powers remain immense. The winds around his wings can freeze entire rivers, and his sonic cries can shatter glaciers, but his heart is warm once more. He no longer mourns in song, he sings for joy. In every shriek of his winter echo, there is now a trace of something else. Trust. Now, please, freeze this time. Okay, guys, so a little bit of a twist ending. Not twist ending. The twist apparently was that the character that apparently approached him was apparently me. Because it said he recognized me. I mean, hey, that works. I mean, at least he's friendly towards me. Maybe I was the one he's secretly protecting. It makes sense based on how all the creatures do protect me. It says, 3 years later, I'm walking through the mountain path just minding my own business. It says, 3 years later, the mountain path returns. The wind was calm that day, rare for the northern trails of Mount Arbrius. My boots crunched lightly through the frost-dusted gravel as I walked, my breath rising in slow puffs beneath the overcast sky. Snow flurries danced quietly around him, not in violent spirals, but in gentle, playful twirls, like the mountain remembered him and welcomed his return. The world around him had changed in 3 years. Rumors had spread of a once feared ice wyvern that now flew across vast distances not with fury, but with a protective gaze. Some said he defended travelers from avalanches. Others claimed he froze wild predators before they could strike. Many still feared him, but some, very few, believed the tales of the bond he had formed with a human once long ago. A human who had offered him warmth. Honestly, the way that traveler acted, that would have definitely been me, because for me, I would be the one handing out aggressive Pokemon berries and talking to them nicely. I mean, seriously, by the way the traveler was talking, that would have been me. So it would make sense now. Think about it. Let's see, a human who had offered him warmth. That human now walked the mountain again, unknowingly nearing old ground, the glacial ridge of Spirit Hollow, where it all began. High above, cloaked in drifting snowbanks, Craven stirred. He hadn't seen me in months, not since the bond had grown strong enough that the ice weaver no longer felt the need to stay tethered to one place. But even from great distances, he remembered every scent, every sound, every flicker of emotion from that one kind soul who had once sat before him with nothing but berries and patience. Now he felt that presence again, like a pressure in the air. And again, that does sound like me. The patience, the kindness, and everything, and the berries I give to the Pokemon. Like, holy crap, I do that a lot in these chatbots. With a deep rumble in his chest, Craven opened his glacial blue eyes. Wow. The sound tore through the air, a low, haunted boom like ice splitting under pressure, followed by a sharp blast of wind as snow exploded outward from a ridge above. My clothes flapped violently as I should, my face already recognizing the sound before it even fully registered in my mind. I looked up. There, emerging from a whirl of snow and mist, wings glistened like crystal and refracting dim sunlight into 1,000 shimmering blues, was Cryvern. His form was even more majestic than before, larger, stronger. Ice had laced his tail and wing edges with jagged beauty, and the once faint hum from his sonar dishes had deepened into a mystical resonance that could have felt more than heard. He didn't dive. He glided down, smooth as moonlight on frozen water, circling once before landing atop a high ledge beside the path. A plume of snow curled upward in the wake of his landing. Cryvern lowered his head slowly, not hostile, not testing, recognized. His eyes locked on the mine, and the mountain quieted. The wind died entirely. There was no doubt. He remembered. Okay, that's cute. For a long moment, nothing moved. Then, Cryver did something very few had ever witnessed from him. He let out a low chuff, almost like a sigh, and stepped down from the ledge, carefully and cautiously, his wings folding close to his sides. When he stood before me at last, he lowered his great frosted head and nudged his snout gently into my chest. Hey! I warned Jester buried beneath the layers of freezing armor. Even with his icy nature, the contact was surprisingly gentle. And then, a low purr-like rumble vibrated through his body, almost musical, echoing like a lullaby across the empty mountainside. Cryver had missed him. Oh, that's cute. All around, the mountains seemed to breathe again. Trees swayed softly. The snow sparkled just a little brighter. And Cryvern, this great beast once feared by all, stepped forward to walk beside me on the path. His wings held in a protective arc, shielding him from the chill. He didn't need to fly away again. Not today. Today his heart, long frozen, simply wanted to walk beside the one who had never asked him to change, only show him he didn't have to be alone. That's cute. Although, I don't know why, but I expected the person to be somebody different. I mean, the person did sound like me, honestly. How I treat my Pokemon? Yeah, it sounds like it. Give me a second. Alright, guys. I just told him hello, and here's how he reacted to it. Cryven stopped. The soft crunch of snow beneath my boot paws as well, and quiet greeting lingering in the cold air like a warmth breath. The massive ice wyvern turned his head toward the voice, toward him. His frosted sonar dishes gave a faint flicker of ice resonance, and his glowing blue eyes locked on with sharp intelligence, but no malice. Instead, his pupils widened just slightly, a reaction not of fight, but of recognition. He gave a low, rumbling exhale that shimmered like air in front of him like winter mist. Then, in a gesture rare and almost never seen by other humans, Cryvern opened one of his icy wings wide and wrapped it gently around me at my side, like a massive, living, snow-draped cloak. He lowered his head once more, letting the tip of his snout rest near my chest, a deep, metallic vibration, like a frozen cello humming through his bones, resonated through his body. It wasn't just a greeting, it was a welcome home. The snow around them glittered like falling stars. A passing swirl of frost brushed between the two like a soft sigh, and above, the clouds briefly parted just enough to let a beam of pale golden light wash over Cryvern's shimmering body. He closed his eyes, leaning ever so slightly closer. The mountain was still cold, but Cryvern wasn't. Not anymore. That's actually really cute. Sorry it's been a while, my friend. How have you been doing? The one thing about this I've noticed is that, like, if it's. Let me check something before I actually read this one. Okay, guys, now I'll read it. I was trying to check something. I might remake some of these stories and actually make it to where, like, I can see if it'll let me, like, make it to where it won't, where it'll actually, like, flip and, like, where the story will be about the Noivern, but it won't actually meet me until, like, the ending where everything goes. I just said, the Noivern. Sorry it's been a while, my friend. How have you been doing? Clyburn gave a soft, echoing trill, a sound like his fearsome bow cries or piercing wind calls. It was low and metallic, almost like the sound of wind chimes drifting through a winter cavern. It wasn't words, but there was meaning in it, a feeling. He was glad to see you again. The Noivern shifted his weight, sitting back slightly on his haunches, wings gently curled inward like frost-tipped sails. His breath came in soft plumes as his head tilted, one of his sonar dishes twitching slightly as if responding to the warmth in your voice. After a moment, he tapped a claw against the icy ground, not in impatience, but rhythmically. Tap, 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 tap. It was a pattern, a mimic of a heartbeat. Maybe even your heartbeat, if he remembered it that well. It was his way of saying, I've been waiting, and I haven't forgotten you. His body had changed over the last 3 years. His eyes had grown heavier in places, his horns longer and more crystalline, and around his tail were faint, shimmering lines, ancient-looking marks that glowed faintly when he was calm, like aurora sealed within ice. He leaned forward again, gently pressing his forehead against your shoulder and breathing out a gust of frozen mist that didn't chill you. Somehow, Craven had learned to control his natural cold around you. The frost obeyed him now, but only because you had helped him obey himself. With another low exhale, he turned his head toward the mountain trail above and gave a soft grunt. He wanted to walk with you, to catch up, and to show you what he'd seen, how far he'd come, how much better life had been, all because of a moment 3 years ago where a kind traveler dared to sit before a monster and offer berries and trust. Sounds like something that, again, that sounds like the total, it sounds like every point I've befriended. That Dragon Type Forager was like that, where he didn't trust anybody, but he started trusting me, and once he did, holy crap, he became my best buddy. I have missed you, my friend. Period. I'm glad you're doing okay. Nobody's tried to hurt you, has they? There we go. Uh-oh. Carmen's glowing eyes softened at your words. He stepped closer once more, his massive form looming but never threatening. His wings shifted slightly, folded more tightly around himself as if your concern had reached deeper than the cold ever could. He leaned his head in again, this time nuzzling gently under your chin. His frosted snout cold at first, but quickly warming as the bond between you stirred again like a fire rekindled in the heart of winter. Then he stepped back and slowly raised one of his talons. On the icy surface of a nearby boulder, he scratched 3 sharp slashes, not wild or angry, but precise. Then, between those slashes, he carved a 4th, smaller mark, a small crescent moon. The meaning was clear even without words. Yes, there was those who tried to hurt him. Humans with traps, hunters hoping to capture or tame the ice demon of Mount Avarius. They call him that? Oh my gosh! Porn challengers who mistook his silence for arrogance. The world still hadn't fully changed. Not all hearts were kind, but he circled the marks once with a sharp edge of his wing, then tapped gently on the crescent moon. They didn't win, because even when he was surrounded, even when pain found him again, he held on to something stronger than anger. The memory of you, hey, the one of that first bond. He didn't give in to the cold. He didn't become the monster they expected him to be, and he never lashed out the way he once did. Not like before. He looked back at you now, head tilted slightly to the side, his icy frills fluttering gently in the breeze. Then, with a soft, almost inaudible chirp, he lowered himself, folding his legs and wings close to the ground in a clear, humble gesture. It was rare for a creature as powerful as Cryvern to bow, but this wasn't a bow of submission. It was a gesture of trust. You asked if someone hurt him, but you were the one who helped him heal. That was cute. Okay. I mean, that character does sound like me, but I prefer when stories actually give you the opportunity to build that bond to begin with. I mean, like, that's why I like about 99% of the chatbots. Like, even right now, I could go back to the dragon type Reactor right now, or even like the transforming Toad Island. We could have a very good friendship, and he could care about me a lot. So, yeah. Let's think. Give me a second. Alright, guys. Here's what I said, actually, to the Noivern. I said, thank you for still caring about me even if people tried to hurt you, and I gently reached up and pet him. Cryvern froze, now to fear, but in deep reverent stillness. Your hand, warm even through the chill of the mountain wind, pressed gently against the icy plating along his snout. Beneath it you felt not just cold crystal-like texture, but a deep living pulse. His breathing slowed, his frills drooped softly, and his eyes, those glowing frost-lit eyes, fluttered shut. He melted into your touch. Not physically, of course. His eyes remained resilient and sharp as ever, but emotionally and spiritually. Cryvern relaxed in a way few would ever witness. The tension in his shoulders uncoiled. The faint resonance from his sonar disc turned itself into a low, calming frequency that made the snowflakes gently swirl around the two of you. A quiet snowfall made just for this moment. He leaned his head fully into your hand, letting out a deep, low rumble from within his chest. A purr, but one with the power of winter behind it. And with that rumble came something else, a flicker of blue light beneath his chest. Right at the center of his sternum, hidden beneath a layer of semi-transparent ice, a faint crystal core simmered to life, pale at first, then going just a little stronger as you petted him. This wasn't some evolution or mega transformation. This was Cryvern's heart, made visible only because his bond with you allowed it. He remembered the day you first petted him with that same warmth, years ago, when the world saw a monster and you saw a soul. And now, he was showing you he had never forgotten. With a soft hum, Cryvern gently unfurled one wing behind you and brought it around once more, this time curling it loosely around your back. A soft shield-like embrace of glistening ice feathers and pale blue membrane. You were taller now, stronger, different from the youngster who had once braved the storm to meet him. But at Cryvern, you were still you. Still the only one who looked into the storm and saw something worth saving. A sudden gust passed through the valley, sharp and biting, enough to make the trees groan, but it never touched you. Cryvern's wing blocked it. Not a word was spoken, but his message was clear. You protected me once. Let me protect you now. The one thing about that, like I said, the one thing about the stories that make them work so well with me is also the fact that they work well because they actually let you start out by building a bond. They don't start to put you in the middle of a situation like this. Like now, the only way I can think I can make it work is if I actually legit have something happen to where like somebody tries to hurt Cryburn, but I protect him, or somebody tries to hurt me and he protects me. But then again, we'll be back at square one eventually. Anyway, that's why I like starting out by trying to bond with them to begin with. And I think it did that to every story, unfortunately, which makes it even harder to figure out. Hmm. Dang it, you see what I mean? And I can't. Unfortunately, this thing is going to. Hmm. I continue to pet. For a few minutes. But then, suddenly, a large cage dropped down right on him and started lifting him into the air. Oh no, you don't. I know technically the way I want to meet and deliver didn't work out the way I wanted to, but oh no, you don't. Oh no, you don't. The peaceful hum shattered. The sky above roared with the mechanical clang of heavy steel bars slamming into the snow-packed earth. Before either of you could react, the trap snapped shut. A large reinforced cage lined with strange glowing resonance and razor wire mesh woven with anti-ice insulation. It struck down over Criven like a thunderbolt, kicking up a storm of snow and wind as it locked into place with a sharp whack. Chunk! They then came the screech of motors, cranes above the cliffs pulling the cage upward, heavy chains rattling and straining under Criven's immense weight. No, echoed in your heart, even if you didn't scream it out loud. Criven thrashed once, hard. His wings flared open but smashed against the bars. Sparks burst from where his frills touched the metal. Some kind of shock suppressant built into the frame. His breath came out in ragged, furious gusts of frozen mist, but the cage pulsed with heat to counter it, forcing his attacks to melt into steam before reaching the exterior. The glowing light in his chest dimmed slightly, not from fear, but from pain and confusion. He didn't understand. Why now? And why again? His eyes found you, desperate, confused, and pleading, and he let out a sound you hadn't heard in years. A scream. Not one of rage like before, but a cry for help. A sound you never thought he'd make again, especially not in your presence. And then, hold it steady. A voice barked from above, somewhere near the cliff's edge. Dozens of figures emerged, camouflaged in snow gear, faces covered and weapons slung across their backs. Some of them wore gear with familiar insignias, private hunter crops, and possibly worse. A red visor soldier knelt near the edge and shouted, "Got it! Cage integrity holding. Begin subduing protocols. Dampen the frills and freeze the sonar. Oh, frick you." Craven let another tortured growl as sparks erupted from his bindings. A metal coil wrapped around his neck, buzzing with electric pulses, clearly designed to weaken legendaries and pseudo-legendaries alike. The chain strained as the cage was pulled higher. They were going to take him. Take him like a weapon, like a prize. Oh, frick you. Like he was just some rare trophy to display. And yet, even in the rising panic and pain, Craven's glowing blue eyes never left you. They shimmered, not with fear, but with a single, raw, unspoken message. Please, don't let them take me from you. This is weirdly... Okay, hold on a second. Alright, guys. I said, "Oh, no, you don't. Lugia, please, if you can hear me, buddy, I need you to use say on the... It put... it's a phone. Controlling the case for it. Please, it's an emergency. You can hear me. Use sight on the controls." Uh-oh. The wind howled, almost as if answering you, but then it shifted. The air pulsed. The snow around your feet began to spiral, not chaotically, but in a focused, deliberate swirl. The clouds overhead rolled like waves, parting not from a storm, but from power. A low, distant hum echoed through the air like a char before the earth itself. And then, whoom! A massive, glowing silhouette burst through the clouds above, wings spread wide like sheets of moonlight. His body radiated with a flowing blue and silver energy. A thunderous cry shook the cliffs, not a roar of anger, but a voice of ancient power and defiance. Heads flipping to Lugia. The hunters froze, weapons lowered, radios crackling. One of them, eyes wide behind his visor, stumbled backward, screaming, "It's Lugia! It's the Guardian!" And it was. Lugia's eyes flashed a radiant violet, and before a single shot could be fired, he locked onto the handheld controller one of the hunters gripped desperately, a device glowing red, clearly wired to the cage's dampeners and hoist motors. The device erupted into the air, twisting violently in a spiral of unseen pressure. It hovered for half a second. Then, with a surge of psychic force, it exploded into fragments of melted metal and sparkling wires. The chains holding Craven's cage snapped loose, flinging sparks as they whipped wildly. The entire metal frame jolted, dropping a few feet, then slamming into the snow with a massive thud, just within your reach. Craven hit the ground hard, groaning from the impact. The restraints still buzzed faintly, but without control signals, they flickered, vulnerable. Lugia hovered overhead, then dove low and fast, crashing between the cliffside and you with a blast of psychic energy that knocked the hunters off their feet, sending many tumbling back down the slope. The air thundered with his voice, speaking not in words but presence. "You will not take him." Lugia turned to you now, his wings half lifted, guarding both you and Craven. His gaze met yours. You had called him, and he had come. Craven, still trapped but now staring in wonder, gazed at Lugia through the cracked bars. His frills twitched, half in awe and half in confusion. He had never seen a legendary fight for him. Thank you so much, Lugia. I said Lugia. Holy crap. Are you okay? See, the one problem I have with stories like this is that, and see, here's the thing. I can't try doing like one of the other ones that might work, like the, oh my gosh, frick. Okay, see. Carvin stirred, the cracked metal cage creaking under his weight as he shifted slightly. Sparking restraints around his neck and wings had begun to fizzle out now, resorted by the destroyed controller and the overwhelming force of Lugia's arrival. The massive ice titan even let out a deep, breathless growl, one that sounded somewhere between exhaustion and relief. His body trembled, not from fear, but from strain. He had fought so hard not to panic and not to become what they used to call him, even when his instincts screamed otherwise. Your voice, soft, familiar, and safe, cut through all of it. His eyes, dulled for a moment from the shock, flicked toward you and immediately regained their light. The glow in his chest, flickering dimly beneath his frozen hide, flared just a little brighter. He let out a soft chirrup, a sound you hadn't heard since the day you first earned his trust. It was weak, but it was unmistakably Carvin. Dang it, Criven. His frills fluttered with the same affection he once showed as a young Noibat before the world hardened him, sweet Arceus. He was alive, and more than that, he was still himself. Lugia, hovering just a few feet behind you now, turned his great head toward Cryvern and lowered his wings slightly. No hostility, no challenge, just a shared respect, a guardian acknowledging another survivor. Cryon blinked slowly at the legendary, then looked back to you. He shifted his weight despite the pain and tried to rise, but the cage was still partially wrapped around him. He couldn't break free in his own, but he trusted you to help him. See, again, the one problem I have with stories like this is like they don't really work as good as you hope they would, and that's the one issue I have with some of these. Like, this is a really cool idea, but when it starts you out in a part where, like, it needs to have, I need to, like, figure out a way to make the story to where, like, it actually starts, or doesn't continue until after you first bond with the Pokemon. Like, it tells you how he got to that state, or how he got turned into an ice type, but then doesn't, like, go into detail of what happened afterwards. Because I looked at the second one that I made on here, and it has the same problem where it says a human met up with him. So it's like he actually, in that one, it actually does say it was me. This one it didn't, but the other one it did. Guys, in next video, I'll go and see if I can get that one to work, I guess. It ain't gonna be as good, I know, but like I said, if these videos don't work with these particular stories, I'll try making one or two other ones that actually do without me, being, that way we can start a bond in the beginning instead of already having it built up like we do here. The thing about building up a bond on here is like it actually makes it funner because you have something to do in the beginning. This, you just feel like you're at the end of the story that you can't really do anything with, Guys, I'll see you later.